guys, welcome to session 8. So these are a little bit shorter because what we've got here is we've got ratio, proportion. These are the higher bits. So these are going to get you those last few marks. They're the crossover questions between the foundation and the higher paper. So when we're looking at ratios, we're thinking about, we've done ratios already, but here we're looking at shapes. But we're just going to go straight into the questions and it'll make a bit more sense. So we've got a graph and we're looking at directly proportional. Now what that means is as one thing goes up, so does the other. So if something is directly proportional to something, so y is directly proportional to x, as y goes up, so does x by the same amount. Now you're going to draw this line beautifully with a straight line and a ruler, but that's what all that means. Okay, so here we've got two similar shapes, and we're also told that B is an enlargement of A. Well, it's very obvious, we can see here that B is bigger than A, and the scale factor is 1.5. So that means B is 1.5 times bigger than A. Right, first things first, angles are the same. So angles aren't involved with the scale factor, only the sides are. So we're going from 5 to h, we've got to go up by 1.5. So 5 times 1.5 is going to give us h, and w times 1.5 will give us 9, but we want to go the opposite way, so we'll have to divide. This was a calculator paper, you plug the numbers into your calculator, 5 times by 1.5, so that's the whole of 5 plus half of 1.5 to give you 7.5, and then you can do 9 divided by 1.5, which gives you, which is the same as 6. So you plug that into your calculator, you get your answers, nice and straightforward. Similar triangles, same concept, okay? So we're looking at a scale factor. What ratio are they to each other? But can you see the angles match? Right, so angles match, but sides are in a ratio. This time we're not given the scale factor, we've got to figure it out. We can see that CB matches up to FE, AB matches to DE, and then finally AC matches to DF. All right, so let's look at where we've got both things, which is AB and DE. So that's the side where we have numbers in both places. And we want to figure out what the scale factor is. So what do we multiply 8.4 by to give us 12.6? Well, to do that, we're going to have to calculate 12.6 divided by 8.4. So when we do that, we plug that into our calculator and we're going to get 1.5. So we're looking for what is the scale factor that gives us that. So therefore, if we're going that way, so we're going from ABC to DEF, we're multiplying. Whereas if we go from DEF to ABC, we're dividing. So to find the length of DF, we're multiplying. 6.4 multiplied by 1.5 gives us 9.6. So now we're going the opposite way. We want to go from FE to CB. So instead of multiplying, we're going to be dividing. 15 divided by 1.5. So we plug that into our calculator. If it was non-calculator, you turn it into a fraction, you get 10. Okay, so here we've got a question. Mia wants to borrow some money and repay it. She's got compound interest, which means it's not like interest from 1 year and then every time it's being added. So every single time the interest is getting higher and higher. We're only looking at 2 years, so there's no need for any complicated formulas. Let's take offer 1. We've got £6,000. We're going to work out 3%. And you literally use the percent button on your calculator. So that's shift. And then on top of the equal sign, there should be a percent number, percent value, and then equals. So 6,000 times 3% gives you 180. So she's already got that added. So 6,000 plus 180 gives us 6,180. We work out 3% for the next year. So in my calculator, I do exactly the same thing, 6180 times 3, and then the percent sign again. And when you hit your equal sign, you get 185.4. So the total must be 6,180 plus 185.4. So the total in which Mia needs to pay back based on offer 1 is 6,365.40. Now let's look at offer 2. The first year is only 1%. So in your head, you're like, oh, okay, that's less. And you should be able to work out 1%. It's just dividing by 100. But again, type it into your calculator. It was a calculator paper. So when you do 6,000 times 1%, you get 60. We're going to add that onto the original 6,000. Work out the 5% for the following year. So 6,060 times by 5%, which gives us £304. So the total that she's going to pay back is 6,060 plus the 304. Now in your calculator, you've already got those numbers. You can use the add sign and you get 6,364. You compare the two and you say, no, she's not correct. They're not the same amounts. So you have to write that conclusion-y line to get your final mark. All right, so here we go. Directly proportional. It's not directly proportional. The rules are, you've got a line, yes, it's going in the right direction, but it's got to start at the origin, because when y is 0, so is x. So the reason that graph is not proportional is because y is not directly proportional to x because it doesn't go through the origin, meaning that 0, 0 mark, okay? So directly proportional. All that means is as one thing goes up, the other goes up by the same amount. So we can use a letter to represent that. So we're saying Q equals K times R. Your rule is you see the words directly proportional, your brain is just going to go K multiplied by. Now we stick some numbers in. So 68 equals K times 20. And we're going to say to ourselves, well, how do we get K on its own? We divide both sides by 20. 68 divided by 20, again, it was a calculator paper, so you just stick it in, you get 3.4. So now you know your connection. Every time R goes up, you've got to multiply it by 3.4 and you get Q. So we know that R is 25, so Q is simply going to be 3.4 times by 25, and stick that into your calculator, and you get your answer, which is, let's stick that into our calculator, 85 point. Oh, it's exactly 85. Sorry, I typed it in wrong. So type it in again, you get exactly 85. So hope that was useful. I know it's quite a quick run through, but like I said, this is mainly at the end of the exam papers, and if you can do these questions, that gives you those marks that tips you over to those top grades in the foundation course. If you're looking at this and you're taking a higher paper, these are usually the questions at the start of the higher paper. So you should still be able to do them. And there is a tutorial, and if I can't, I will make sure we link it. There should be one on how to use the ratio button on your calculator. If it's not up here, we'll make sure we redo it for you. Okay, hope that was useful, and see you guys next week.